Hi guys, welcome to Dinner Guide, where we're all about inspiring you, the cook at home, to join in and have some fun in the kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Sheena Amario. Today we're going to be making a spicy bean sausage stew, as well as some lemon cashew rice. Now to start off with the ingredients, we're going to have some sausages, we're going to have some cumin, some mixed herbs. The herbs I'm using here is just a bit mixed of Italian herbs. So we've got some oregano in there, as well as some basil, some marjoram, all that good stuff. And then we've got some salt, some black pepper, some tomato paste, and I've got the zest of one lemon, which is just the lemon zested, as well as some olives. The olives here are optional, but I like olives, so I'm using them. I'm using some butter as well. And then I've got some paprika, as well as some cayenne pepper, some capsicums. You could use colored capsicums if you wanted to. Then I've got a cube, whichever one you'd like to use, whether you'd like to use a beef cube or a chicken cube, it's up to you. Some cashew nuts, some butter, some mustard seeds. You'll see what I'll do with the mustard seeds in a moment. Some mustard seeds, some oil, some garlic, ginger, tomatoes, and some baked beans. And of course, for the rice today, I'm using one of my favorite rice brands, which is from Royal Umbrella. Now, I love this rice because it's very nice and fluffy, and it doesn't leave a lot of starch in your water. So I really like it because it leaves your rice individually spaced, meaning it's 1 on 1. Yes, like spiced 1, 1, 1, 1. So I really like it. And I've already gone ahead and washed my rice here. So it's nice and fluffy and dry already. So what I did is just washed my rice, and then I strained out the water. And then I let it soak for about 10 minutes, just to be sure that there's no extra starch in it. So to go ahead, we're going to go ahead and actually toss our cashew nuts. Now the cashew nuts are going to go in our rice. So I'm just going to go ahead. I've heated my pan and just add those briefly. And then I'm going to leave my sausages cooking before we go on a short break, just so that it can make your cooking easier at home. So go ahead and add your sausages. Now I'm using spicy sausages. You could definitely use whatever sausages you want at home. So for example, if you wanted to use, I'm using pork sausages. If you wanted to use beef, you could use beef sausages. You could use frankfurters if you wanted to. So make it work for you. So for the cashew nuts, I'm going to add the heat. And all we're doing here is just trying to brown the cashew nuts, which I've mentioned are going to go into our rice. Now the rice I'm making today is lemon cashew rice. And for the lemon cashew rice, we're going to be using some mustard seeds, as well as the oil and the cashew nuts. So I like to toss my cashew nuts because the type I have here is the raw ones. But if you buy the ones from the supermarket, depending which ones you buy, if you buy the raw ones, then toast them a bit. That's my advice. But if you do buy the ones that are already pre-roasted for you, then you can go ahead and skip this step. So I'm just going to turn this, and that's what we're looking for. The nuts themselves, they start to brown, as you can see. So it's a nice brown color, which is just going to release the oils in the, let me just turn this. So the brown color is just going to leave your nuts very nice and nutty with the cashew nuts, which is what you're looking for. So just a nice little toss, not too much. You don't want them to brown or to burn. So we're just letting them turn until they're golden brown. As you can see, the nice golden brown color, and that's all you want. So we're going to set that aside and then get our pan and place this here. And then to start off with, we're going to add some oil. Now the oil I'm using here is sunflower oil. I have sunflower oil as well as olive oil. You can use whichever oil you want, but for this particular dish, I'm using sunflower oil. So add a bit of your sunflower oil, and then let that heat up, and then we're going to add a bit of our mustard seeds in here. And then check on your sausages. Again, always remember to check on everything you're doing in the kitchen. So just check on your sausages. And for the sausages I've mentioned today, I'm making a nice spicy sausage and bean stew. So we're going to add, the sausages are going to be nice and fragrant, and we're going to add some baked beans to them. So they're going to have this nice, light, aromatic taste to them. Okay. So now add a bit of your mustard seeds, not too much. Just a little bit. And what's going to happen is the mustard seeds are going to start tossing. Then we're going to set aside our cashew nuts now. set aside your cashew nuts. And you see that they start to toss. So reduce your heat because you definitely do not want your mustard seeds to burn. And then now add your rice. Remember I mentioned I've already drained my rice, so I'm going to add a bit of my rice. But actually, to just make it easier for myself, I'm going to add a bit of my turmeric. Now turmeric is just going to add a little bit of color, just a little color. Then we're going to swirl that around. Just make sure it mixes evenly. Then now add your rice. So add your rice, and then we're going to stir it. Now what this does is actually allow your rice to actually toss up a little bit with the oil as well as the mustard seeds. So that's why I'm adding it at this step, because the oil is going to help toss up your rice. So just be sure to gently toss it up in the pan with the oil. And already you can see the beautiful color from the turmeric, because that's what turmeric does. It gives whatever you add into it a nice, beautiful yellow hue. And it's always welcome. We don't mind a little color in anything we make, you know. So that's looking good. So we're going to add some water here. And I'm going to turn my sausages. Again, my sausages are on low heat because I don't want them to darken or burn. So that's why I'm putting them on low heat. So once your rice is very well tossed, you can see it. Every grain here is actually well coated with the mustard seeds, and the oil, you can just about see the nice sheen on them, and that's what you're looking for. So once that's done, season and add some water. So the water here I'm just using some water, and the water here I'm using is 1 cup, the ratio of 1 cup rice to 2 cups of your liquid. It could be water here, it could be coconut milk, it could be chicken stock, beef stock, so whatever liquid it is, just try to do the 1:2 ratio. 1 cup of your rice, 2 cups of your water, and most times you'll not go wrong with that ratio. So I'm going to add a bit of salt, and then you want to make sure again the heat here is not too high. So I'm just adding a bit of salt, and I'm just going to turn it one last time, because like I mentioned, I am trying to get the rice to actually, we're kind of like frying the rice. Which is just going to help it coat with everything inside the pan. So now add your water. And then we're going to cover that and then let that cook all the way through. And that's it. So we're going to go on a short little break, and when you guys come back, we'll continue with the rest. Our sausages should be ready by then, and I can show you how we're going to make a stew with the sausages and the baked beans. So see you in a little bit. Welcome back to Dinner Guide. I'm your host and chef, Sheena Amario. And if you just tuned in, today we're actually making a spicy sausage bean stew, as well as some lemon cashew rice. Now, it's nothing too complicated. If you just tuned in, before the break, we actually made the rice, which I added some mustard into it. As you can see, it's still cooking. Now, the rice, the black seeds you see here are the mustard, and it's got some yellow color, which is from the turmeric, as well as some oil. Now to go ahead, my sausages are now ready, so I'm just going to place this aside. Now I mentioned you could use whichever sausages you want to at home. If you wanted to use pork, beef, spicy, non-spicy, make it work for you. You could use boers as well, frankfurters as well. So whatever you'd like to use, just go ahead. So I'm going to go ahead and start chopping my garlic, which is going to go into the spicy sausage and bean stew that I've mentioned we're making. So I've just put on my pan here, and then I'm going to heat it. I'm adding some olive oil, so just a little generous with it. And then we're going to just start chopping our garlic. Now I always like bashing my garlic because this just makes it easy for you to release the skin. And what happens is the skin comes right off. It's a very simple process. You don't have to take too much time doing this, removing the skin or peeling the skin rather. And you could also easily grate this if you wanted to. So I'm just going to go ahead and chop. I like chopping my garlic, but if you don't like chopping your garlic, then by all means you could definitely just grate it. So we're just going to give this a nice chop. It doesn't have to be too fine for this. And then you want to make sure that your oil is not too hot in your pan, because otherwise your garlic is going to burn, and you don't want it to burn. It's going to get this bitter taste, which is not what we're after. We just want to make sure that we saute our saute our stew. Okay. So all you want to do is just make sure that the garlic is fragrant. We're going to add it, and you'll hear the sizzle. Always look out for the sizzle whenever you're cooking your food at home. Oh, and I can already smell the garlic, and it's just been a few seconds. It's not been more than 5 seconds, and I can already smell it. So then get your wooden ladle or your wooden spoon, and then just stir this. The aromas, you can already smell the aromas. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly chop my capsicums. You could use colored capsicums, but I'm just using the green ones. You could also skip using the capsicums if you wanted to. So all I've done is just chop them. So you kind of have to be fast. So if you're not that fast, then just ensure that they're already chopped, because like I mentioned, you're not trying to burn your garlic here. You're just trying to get it fragrant. So once it's nice and fragrant, we're going to go ahead and add our tomatoes. So add your tomatoes. And then just stir that gently. Then I'm going to check on my sausages if they're cool enough for me to chop them. Yes, they feel like they're getting there, because I don't want to burn myself, obviously. Who does? Now again, like I mentioned, you could use some other capsicums. Yellow capsicums will be a good contrast to this, but I chose the green ones because they already have red in the tomatoes. So just make it work for you with whatever it is that you have available. And then to go ahead, now I'm going to get my sausages and then just start chopping those up. If you wanted to add some ginger, you could definitely add some. I don't mind a little kick, a little spice in my ginger. After all, I did say it's a bit spicy. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut some of the ginger and then just go around. Usually you could also use a spoon to peel your ginger. But for this, I'm just going to go around it and remove the skin, and there you have it. And then just give it a nice chop. Again, if you like your ginger, you could leave this a little bit chunky. You could leave this into larger slices. But I'm just going to keep it chopped just because I've chopped everything else. So what the ginger does here is actually give your food a nice little kick to it, a nice natural spice. It gives it a nice kick so that when you eat it, you can kind of feel it down your throat. But if you're not a huge fan of ginger, then you don't have to use it. So I'm going to go ahead now and get my sausages and just start slicing them. So they don't have to be in any particular design. It's kind of like your preference. And these are actually still a little hot. I can feel them. I'm like, ow, ow, ow. But hey, get used to it. So just go ahead and slice. And then while that's cooking, I'm going to just give this a nice little stir here. And then I'm going to add the spices before I add my sausages, because now your tomatoes have started to die down. The tomatoes I used here were tinned tomatoes. Now if you decide to use our fresh tomatoes, you should definitely let those cook a little bit longer until all the juices have been released. Now I just chose to use the tinned tomatoes because they're going to be easy to release the flavors. So what I'm getting here are the spices I'm going to add, just so that it's easier for me to pick them. So we're going to go ahead and go in with a little bit of our cayenne. So the cayenne is going to give your food a little bit of a kick. Now you could use chili powder if you wanted to. Cayenne is just a little bit milder. Then we're going to use a bit of paprika for the color. Paprika gives your food this nice, beautiful red color. And then we're going to add our mixed spices. Now I mentioned here I was using a variety of mixed spices. There's some oregano in here, there's some sage in here, some marjoram in here, some basil. So it's just mixed spices, which we can easily get in your supermarket, when you go out, just go out there and then just look for a container that's written mixed spices in the spice shelves. But you could definitely just choose to use one. You could use oregano or basil, just choose whatever you like. So I'm adding a bit of some black pepper because I love my black pepper. And I'm going to go ahead and add some cumin. Now the cumin is going to give this a nice little, an Indian taste from far, because most Indian dishes do tend to have cumin in them. So that's what the cumin is going to add. So you're not going to tell right off from the start, but it's going to be there. So then you stir in your spices, and already you can see the colors have changed. That's what adding different spices does. So then now place this aside, and then we're going to just go ahead and add some tomato paste. Again, the tomato paste is here for the color, and it's going to thicken your sauce as well. So just go ahead and then just stir this. Already you can see the sauce has thickened. That's the beauty of tomato paste, and it gives your food a nice, beautiful, deep red color. And you know, we always eat with our eyes, so I like to make sure that whatever I'm cooking is nice and vibrant and colorful. Now I haven't added salt. Remember, my sausages have salt in them. Spices tend to have their own natural salts in them. So what I like to do is once I've added whatever I'm going to add, then taste my food so that I can be sure that my seasoning is good enough. So add the sausages that I've already pre-chopped. Now this is a good dish that you could definitely do. We're doing it for dinner, but you could easily have this for breakfast as leftovers, because most times we do eat sausages and baked beans for breakfast. Now I'm using baked beans because they're nice and sweet, but you can definitely choose to use kidney beans or white beans. Just use whatever beans you like. It's always your preference after all. Because like I always say, if you don't like something, you don't have to do it because the recipe calls out for it. I'm trying to get you to cook. And if you cook with something you don't like, the chances of you eating it are like slim to zero. And like I said, I'm all about inspiring you guys at home to cook with us. So stir in your sausages until they're well coated. And like I like to cook my sausages beforehand, just so that they get the nice brown color into them, as you can see here. But if you want to, you could definitely skip browning your sausages and then just chop them and add them, but they're not going to get that nice brown color. So again, it's a preference and you can make it work. So we're going to set that aside and then now get your baked beans. Oh, yum. Now your baked beans are already sweet enough. As you know, baked beans do come with their own sugar. So we're just going to stir this and then add them. Now I mentioned you could definitely use this with whatever beans you'd like to use at home. And then I'm going to add a bit of water. Now you could definitely use some stock cubes into this, which is what I'm going to add. So I'm just grabbing some water, and then I'm going to add this. Just a little bit, and then we're going to stir it. I don't want it too wet or too watery rather. I want it just so you're able to scoop it and just so that it's saucy enough to eat with your rice. You could also easily have this with bread, like that's what I was saying. You could have this as a leftover and have it the next day in the morning. Oh, and already the colors, you can already see them. Our dish is coming alive. It's looking good. Yes, it is. So just stir this. Then we're going to give this a little taste as it continues to cook. Again, always remember to check your heat. It's looking nice and colorful and tasty. Now, I love to taste everything, and you know I always have to taste it for you. So this is the point where I'm going to check the seasoning, because remember I haven't added any salt, just because the sausages have salt in them. The spices tend to have their own natural salt with them as well. And I'm using baked beans, which are already seasoned. So always be careful with whatever it is you're adding. The baked beans, the sweetness that it brings, and woo, I can feel the chili from the cayenne pepper. Now, if you're not a huge fan of chili, then you want to dial back a little bit. But like I say, this is a spicy dish, so hey, we're going a bit extra on the chili. So I'm just going to wash my spoon. And then now I need salt because I've tasted it. But then because I mentioned I'm going to use a chicken cube or a beef cube, so I'm just going to go ahead and add it here. But I don't want to add all of it. I'm just going to add a little bit. So I'm just breaking it down. And this is going to give your dish, again, more salt. So always be careful with everything you're adding. Then add your water. And then we're just going to stir that in. Now you could easily just mix your chicken stock or your chicken cube or your beef cube with some water and then just add the water. That's an easier alternative. But this just lets you know the different ways you can definitely add in your cube. And you could definitely omit it as well. So I'm going to let this bubble gently. Then I'm going to taste it and see if I actually need to add actual salt. So we're going to check on our rice, because our rice has been cooking for a while now, and it should be about 20 minutes. Most times when you're making your rice, you want to give it about 20 minutes, it's going to be done. And you can always tell when it's done because it's nice and fluffy. So we're going to go ahead and open it. Ooh, yum. I can already smell the aromas. Yes, you can see it. It's nice and fluffy. Oh, and that's why I said I love Royal Umbrella rice, because it just comes out so nice and beautiful and fluffy. It's just gorgeous to look at and to work with. So I'm going to give this a taste, because you know I've got to taste everything. Yum. Don't worry about the mess. That happens. The mustard seeds, oh, this tastes really, really good. So I'm going to cover that because it's actually done. And what we're going to do, oh, and if you noticed, I actually added foil here. Now what the foil does is actually just make sure that it traps all the steam inside the pot, because you want to make sure that your rice is cooking with all the steam. You don't want anything getting loose. That's because mine comes with a little open knot that you can see. But if yours doesn't come with a little hole there, then by all means, you don't have to use this. This is just a tip for you at home. In case you have a pot that comes with a lid that has a little hole, you want to make sure you want to trap all of the steam for your rice to cook. So you're going to set that aside. And then remember, I have here my lemon. So I'm going to add some lemon into the rice, as well as a fresh lemon. And then other than that, I'm also going to be adding the cashew nuts, because the rice is ready. And the reason you add the lemon in last is so that the lemon juice does not die down when you cook it. You want it to be fresh. We're looking for it to be fresh and zesty and lemony, because it is a lemon rice, like I mentioned. So just go ahead. And then for the cashew nuts, I like to just add them last, because I want that crunch in my rice. But if you don't want the crunch, you could definitely cook it all together. And what's going to happen is that your cashew nuts are going to cook down. They're going to be a bit soft, so not so crunchy. So I'm going to give this a taste, because remember I've added the cube, to see whether I need to add some salt. You know, like how I said you can't like taste the cumin, I can actually taste it because the flavors come together, but it's not strong. So I'm going to add a bit of salt, and that's why I like to add the salt just last, so that you know how much not to go overboard with it. So just a little bit. And then we're going to finish off with our olives. Now the olives here are definitely optional. If you don't like to use olives, you don't have to, but I love olives. These are just the normal olives you get in the jar. I like to, because it gives your food a different taste. And again, because most people are used to olives like in your salads, when you use them in a dish, it's like a surprise. It's like, ooh, you can use olives. You can cook with olives. Yes, you can. Another thing that would go really good in this is something like mushrooms. And again, the black color just gives your food character. And I'm all about character and colorful food, like I mentioned. So that's looking good. So we're going to leave that aside. And then all I want to do here is actually just add a bit of the lemon zest into my rice, as well as some of the cashew nuts, not all of them. So we're going to go ahead and pick some of the lemon zest, then add it to your rice. Get some of your cashew nuts. We're going to finish the rest topping them off. So just add a bit. Already you can see the character you get in your rice. And then we're going to get the lemon here and then just juice it through. So just go ahead and then just juice this. Oh, I know this is going to be lovely. I love lemon and the freshness that it gives to food. If you're not a huge fan, like you don't have to use it. You could also use lime as well. That will work really, really well. So just pour that in and then place it aside. So we're going to give our rice a nice gentle stir. Yes. So just give it a stir. And then I'm going to give this a taste, because you know I've got to. And I'm going to finish off with the remaining lemon zest, just for the serving, because I like to give it a little extra oomph into it, a little extra zestiness. Oh yum. The lemon in this really makes your rice come to life. So it's nice, fresh, and zesty. So it gives it a nice little kick. It brings it to life. It just like wakes it up. And that's what you're looking for. So we're going to go on a short break, because everything is pretty much done. Our lemon cashew rice is done. Our spicy sausage bean stew is done. I'm just going to stir this. Yes, our sausage bean stew is actually done. So when we come back from the break, we're going to go ahead and then serve the food for you guys so you can see it. And I've been tasting it for you, so I know it tastes top notch because it's got to. So see you after the break. Hi guys, welcome back again to Dinner Guide. I'm your host and chef, Sheena Amario. And if you just tuned in, today we're making a nice, lovely, spicy dish. And the dish we're making today was actually a spicy sausage bean stew, as well as a lemon cashew rice. Now we've actually just finished the cooking, so we're going to go ahead and plate this. Now our stew is nice and spicy. So if you don't like your food a bit on the spicy side, then you can definitely dial back. Now I used baked beans, but I mentioned you could definitely use whatever beans you have available. I just like baked beans. So I'm going to go ahead and serve this. And I used some olives as well, just because they give your food a little bit of a different character. So I like to use them. But if you don't like to, you don't have to. So we're going to go ahead and place that on the side. And then we're going to go ahead and plate our rice. Now the rice I mentioned, I was making a nice aromatic lemon cashew rice. Now I added the cashew rice, I added the cashew nuts and a bit of the lemon before we went on break. And then what I usually like to do is serve it off, and then I'm going to finish this with a bit of more of the cashew, as well as more of the lemon, just to give it a little bit oomph into it. I want to make sure that everything is being seen, because it's a nice colorful rice, and you definitely want all your colors popping. Yes, we do. So go ahead, and then I'm going to add a knob of butter to the top. Again, just giving your rice a bit of a different character. And I love my butter, just so when you take a bite into your rice, you'll be like, oh, what's that? So we're just going to leave that on top. And because the rice is hot, it's going to eventually melt. And then we're going to go ahead and add a bit of our lemon zest. So this is actually easier to just sprinkle it around. Again, the lemon zest will just add a bit of some zestiness to your rice, and then more of the cashew nuts. Because I did mention we were making a lemon cashew rice. Yep, and that's good. So our cashew is looking nice. Our rice is looking good. And that's it. So for our, I'm going to add a bit more of the olives, just so that they're more visible. And that's it for today, guys. So again, if you just tuned in, we were actually making some lovely cashew rice, lemon cashew rice, as well as a spicy sausage bean stew. And I've showed you the whole process of what we did. I mentioned if you don't like your rice spicy, if you don't like your stew spicy, you could definitely tone back a little bit. And for the rice, we're actually using lemon. I mentioned if you don't have lemon at home, you could use lime, because I'm trying to make it easy for you to do it at home. So again, just work with what you have at home. This has been Dinner Guide. I've been your host and chef, Sheena Amario. Make sure to follow us on Brand Plus TV on social media, Facebook, and we'll be interacting some more. Until then, see you next time. Bye.